Welcome into Seahawks Today, powered by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here with you. Happy to have you with us. On today's show, we have the latest Seattle Seahawks news and rumors of what's happening with your favorite team, including a look at the Seahawks injury report, some positive news to get to on that front. Also, who could be the Seahawks X factor this week against the San Francisco 49ers, and what did Pete Carroll have to say on the matchup against San Fran? We will dive into all of that and more coming up in just a few moments from right now. Before we get to that, though, a quick shout-out to Quandre Diggs. Not only did he play excellent in that win on Sunday against the LA Rams, had a crucial interception, he was just named the NFC Defensive Player of the Week. And, you know, he talked about afterwards that he was going to do something big for the Lions for if they were able to get the win, getting them a trip to Cabo. And sure enough, they delivered. So Quandre not only did his part, but now he rewarded the Lions for their help to get the Seahawks into the postseason. Great job by Quandre Diggs. So everybody spam 6 in the comments section to show some love for Quandre Diggs. Big congrats to him on a great game and a very well-deserved reward. And hopefully he can come through again with a big game on Saturday against San Francisco. Let's get to some injury news now, starting with Dee Eskridge, also known as Dwayne Eskridge. Remember, he'd been placed on IR with a broken hand, but good news for him, he could possibly be making a return this week as he participated in walkthroughs on Tuesday. Pete Carroll said it would be a challenge to get him ready for the 49ers, but didn't quite rule it out. And what if we talked about all season long with this Seattle Seahawks team when it comes to the receiving corps? You already know what you have in DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett as your 1-2 punch, and they're as good as any wide receiver duo in football. But then beyond that, we have seen inconsistencies when it comes to finding that number 3 target of some sorts. We've seen the tight ends have their days from time to time. We've seen Marquise Goodwin look good at times. We know Dee Eskridge is talented, but he hasn't been able to stay healthy. If you get Dee Eskridge back, that would only add another weapon. That would only help. And so although the Seahawks have been without him for the most part, getting him back would be a positive if they can get him out there. That would be a nice gain to have, especially at this juncture. Here's what Pete Carroll had to say about Dee Eskridge. He's an explosive player. He's got a lot of firepower. He's been out for quite a while, so it'd be a lot maybe to get him back this week. But first, we've got to see him in practice. We haven't seen him in like 6 weeks or something. The numbers on Dee Eskridge, as we mentioned, the playing time limited, just 7 catches for 58 yards. But he is a guy that can be used in a number of ways, not just as a receiver, but also in the return game as well. So we'll continue to monitor that and see if Dwayne Eskridge can make his return this week for Seattle. Coming up next, an update on Ryan Neal that we will get to. And Ryan Neal, they'd love to have back. He was named by Pro Football Focus as a all-pro caliber safety this past week. More on him in just a second. Before we do, today's show is presented by BetUS, the exclusive sportsbook partner of Chat Sports. If you go to chatsports.com/bet, enter the promo code Seahawks125, you will get a 125% deposit bonus. Put $100 down, you get $125 to spend for free. And you can bet on this weekend's game against San Francisco. You can bet on the other wild card games as well. Maybe you're feeling college basketball or NBA. Get your bets in. The Niners are favored by 10.5 at this point. Over under at 43. What's your bet's going to be? Let me know. And get your bets in now at chatsports.com/bet. Hammer that Seahawks plus 10.5, right? You got to. You got to. Believe, I tell you. Chatsports.com/bet, promo code Seahawks125. Ryan Neal nearing a possible return. Here's the latest on Neal. He was a limited participant in practice this week, his first practice since December 9th with a knee injury. And now the million-dollar question becomes, will he play against San Francisco this week? And you look at this Seahawks team, they would love to have Ryan Neal back, and Neal has played at a pretty high level this season. The numbers for Ryan Neal in 2022 include 66 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, 8 pass breakups, 1 interception, and 1 forced fumble, or 4 tackles for loss, rather. And so we mentioned with Ryan Neal of how Pro Football Focus seems to love him, and then the Seahawks with a need to find that number 3 option of a wideout target. I wonder what would be more important. Would it be Ryan Neal or would it be Dee Eskridge? I lean towards Ryan Neal, having Ryan Neal back. But if you're a Seahawks fan, obviously you'd have to love both of them. You'd have to want both of them back, quite frankly. So who is more important this weekend against San Francisco? Is it Dee? Is it Ryan Neal? If it's Dwayne Eskridge, type DE for Dee Eskridge in the comment section. If you think it's Ryan Neal, type RN for Ryan Neal. Let me know in the comment section who is more important this week for Seattle. Is it Dee Eskridge or is it Ryan Neal? Moving on now, let's talk about Godwin Igwebuike, as SB Nation has named him as a possible X factor against San Francisco. And you look at Godwin, this is somebody that can be used in multiple ways, right? In particular as a return man. 11 kickoffs, averaging 28 yards per return. That's a lot. And, those long returns, obviously, those equal more first downs. So certainly can have a big impact and has a long of 50 yards a return. And this is a guy that has been an electric return man. And, we have talked about on this show for the last couple of weeks with the questions with Tyler Lockett, what he's dealt with injury-wise and trying to protect certain players. If Godwin can be effective as a return man in his own right, where it saves you from having to use a quality starter like Tyler Lockett, for example, in the return game, that could go a long way with what he could potentially bring to the table. And when we look at these playoff games over the years and try to find those unsung heroes, if you're going to make a deep playoff run, you have to have guys show up that maybe weren't necessarily there in the regular season, that weren't, the do-it-all type guys. Godwin might be the potential guy Seattle's looking for this team to have that missing piece of some sorts. Don't sleep on what he could potentially do in the return game for the Seahawks. So, let's send some good energy here. Like the video if you want Godwin to return a kick for a touchdown. Simple as that. I know you do. And so let's go ahead and just make our voices heard, do our part, and show some love to Godwin. Go ahead and hit that like button if you want to see him return a kick for a touchdown this week against San Francisco. You got to join us coming up this weekend. We have an incredible watch party coming up for the Seahawks and the 49ers. We will get things started about an hour before kick, around 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific, for our Seahawks and 49ers watch party. We will preview the game, react to it in real time, have a few drinks on hand. We'll do a live post-game show as well. I'm going to be joined by the one and only Jeffrey Cooperstein, Koopa Loop. He'll be in the house with me. It is going to be incredible. If you had a good time last week, you ain't seen nothing yet. Join us coming up on Saturday afternoon right here on the channel, youtube.com/Seahawks TV. Subscribe for free, sub for dubs. Let's get after it. Let's have ourselves a day coming up on Saturday. You won't want to miss it. All right, before we go, Pete Carroll spoke this week in his press conference about the matchup with San Francisco as they see San Fran for the third time this year. And Pete had some interesting things to say on San Francisco. Pete said, unfortunately, we're playing the Niners. Doesn't sound too enthused about that. And they're loaded and healthy and on a roll, about as hot as you can possibly get, and doing it in a really commanding fashion, too, with a young quarterback who's doing so well. They don't fool you. They just line up and they're running their scheme. They've got some things that they do. They pressure rarely but effectively. It's just the fact that they're so consistent at what they do. You have to beat them. You have to block them. You have to make them miss you because they're going to be in the right spots and they're going to execute really well. So, put it this way. It's no secret. Pete Carroll's echoing what we all know. The Niners right now are the hottest team in the National Football League. And this is a type of game where you have to play perfect. It is all hands on deck. It is a bring your lunch pail type of game. Everything has to go right for Seattle. And so Pete Carroll, he knows that. Geno Smith and company. That to me, as we'll preview this game later on this week here on Seahawks Today. But I got to tell you, just being honest with you and looking ahead, everything needs to go right. This week of practice is crucial. Can they win it? Yeah, they can. But they have to do everything well. Pete Carroll knows that. As always, you can interact with me on social media, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Tyler Jones Live, talking about your Seattle Seahawks there. It's a big week. Stay tuned to the channel. We'll see you next time here on Seahawks Today.